It's time for another version of Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm your host, Rick Couri, and today, after talking about a lot of basketball, which we'll still do because we've got district playoffs coming up, we're going to switch gears a little bit. How about some City of Tulsa recycling and how it's involved in Tulsa athletics? How about a little track and field, maybe a little baseball and football as well? All today right here on Inside Tulsa Athletics. We're back here on Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm your host, Rick Couri. I want to say a nice thank you and shout out here to Mick Wilson. He's the TPS, of course, athletic director. You'll notice the new swag. My wife calls it drip. I think that's kind of the thing they're calling it nowadays. Thank you very much, Mick, for the TPS gear, which we're wearing here on the show, and wear that as often as possible, and I certainly appreciate it. All right, now let's get back to what's really important. Let's talk to our next guest. We're going to talk to somebody who is involved in athletics from the standpoint of the City of Tulsa, and that is through a sponsorship, and that is City of Tulsa Recycles Josh Noel. Yeah. Josh, TulsaRecycles.com. Now you got the swag as well. So tell me why Tulsa Recycles wants to be involved.
So my job with TPS is teaching the elementary and middle school kids how to recycle right. They're at that age still that they still want to go home and tell their parents. My job is to combat contamination within the city. It's a very difficult job, fighting a lot of misinformation. So why not try to get to the kids where they want to teach their parents? You know, I teach the parents as much as I can through radio ads and through other TV interviews as well. But when I get to the kids, I interact with them and I get them to enjoy recycling and learning the information that they can take that back to their family.
And we've seen, I've seen commercials and promos where there's, the trash can talks and that kind of thing. Right. Much like with a sport too, if you get a child at a young age, they're going to be passionate about that. That's what you're trying to build then, right? Not only information, but that lifetime habit.
Correct. Yes. If you start them young, and they enjoy it and they know how to do it right from the beginning, then 10 years from now, they can continue on that legacy and pass it down to their kids or even further, 10 or 30 years down the line.
Sure. So. I think for most of us, I have the recycle bin outside like everybody else. And at least at our house, it fills up before our trash cans fill up nowadays, which is good. But most of us just believe, okay, throw it in there. You're talking about contamination, keeping them separate. Where do we start?
So you can go to TulsaRecycles.com. It has a great information on there of what can and cannot go into your blue cards. A lot of people think that just because something has the recycle symbol on it that we accept everything on there, but we don't. And there's a whole list of items that our vendors and our people can't accept on the back end of things. And so just understanding what you can put into that blue cart makes a world of difference. And you're doing the right thing. this program started 13 years ago with the idea of if you use the recycle cart more, you can get a smaller trash cart. Smaller trash cart means a smaller bill at the end of the month as well. So.
Yep, it does. You talk about some stuff that doesn't get accepted. What happens to that kind of stuff that gets thrown in there?
So the stuff that's found in the recycling now is going straight to the landfill, and that's what we're trying to avoid. We're very fortunate here in Tulsa to be a very sustainable city. We have the waste for energy plant where, a large percentage of your trash gets burned and turned into energy. And very few percentage of that actually goes to the landfill. But now, every piece of trash or contamination that we find in the recycle stream is now going straight to the landfill, and we don't want that.
No, of course not. What kind of progress are we making? It's sometimes if you've got someone who's at recycling, you have to show them numbers. You have to show them, here's why and how this is working. What can you point to that's hard data?
So our hard data is basically every month we get a number of how much tons that we recycle as a city. Comparatively to last year, we went down in tonnage, unfortunately. In 2024, we recycled just over or around 18,000 tons. We want that number to, grow at least by 10,000 tons or more, if possible, of clean recyclables, and that's what our job is right there.
Yeah, I think for some of us, the first time you went to a store and you saw something that said made from recyclable materials, you know, there were some shirts I saw made from recycled drinking straws.
Right.
The kinds of things that would surprise people that this gets turned into. You have, you know some of that?
I do, but you know, all of the glass bottles that we collect, some of it stays within like the tri-state area where it is recycled and reused, either into other bottles or even windows. You know, there's a whole plethora of other items out there that are made from recycled material, and it's a very fascinating thing to learn about.
Yeah, why involvement with sports?
People with the athletics, the TPS athletics, for me, it was getting into the gym classes, because I get them interactive with games and stuff like that, because most kids nowadays, they learn by doing. And so getting their hands on something rather than just preaching about it, it makes the information solidify in their brain a little bit more.
Tactile learning, it does make things, and you're right, when it's fun, there's no doubt about that. Nowadays, there are a lot of people too that'll carry a water bottle rather than going back to plastics, things like that. Are we seeing any impact from those kinds of things?
Yes, people are, the 3 R's of recycling, as a lot of people know, they've been doing it for years, is reduce, reuse, recycle. So, you know, if you reduce the amount of waste you produce, like having a reusable water bottle, or, you know, buying products that were made from recycled materials. And then the next thing is reusing. So again, reusing those water bottles, or even instead of plastic bags, which is our #1 contaminant in the stream, you know, getting reusable bags. You know, and then lastly is recycle right. You know, and there's so many services that the city offers here in Tulsa that are, a lot of them are no cost for Tulsa residents. A lot of people don't know about, but if you go to tulsarecycles.com, you can learn more about those services.
Get those websites, learn an awful lot more about it. Thank you very much for being here. That is Josh Noel, City of Tulsa Recycling. He's there to help the the City of Tulsa, not that just them, but then Tulsa Public Schools Athletics and kids as well. Back with more right here on Inside TPS Athletics coming up.
Hey Tulsa, we have a crushing recycle play of the day for you. Team Johnson versus paper and cardboard.
They're starting off slow today, probably trying to figure out what to do with those styrofoam plates, since they're not recyclable.
There's the big play we were waiting for. Boom! Completely empty cardboard boxes dunked in the cart. Score big by recycling your cardboard and paper. Learn more at tulsarecycles.com.
We're back on Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm your host, Rick Couri. And you know, this is a show where we've got some baseball to talk about, we've got some wrestling to talk about, but how about we talk about something that just ended and we already went back, football. Let's do it with the brand new head coach at Edison. His name is Kip Shaw. Now, Kip, of course, has been over at Central and was giving him trouble that you were wearing the Philadelphia Eagles shirt. Just tell people, fly, Eagles, fly. But that's what you're going to be trying to do at Edison, right?
Absolutely. Well, we're going to try and go over there and make things a little bit better.
So tell me about making a move like that. You've been at a place, you're comfortable in a place, you know the place, and then you get approached about something else. You know, we talked about it with college coaches before. What's it like in high school?
You know, it's a lot like college. You know, I'd been at Central for 12 years and 8 as the head coach. You know, you kind of get to a point where, when you just reflect and overlook on a season where maybe a change of leadership is needed, maybe somebody else's voices need to be in front of those young men. And you know, Edison, the opportunity presented itself, and you know, it's a great place. You can tell by the people that I've met over there. You know, from the interview committee, everybody, you know, they're just excited about Edison as a whole, and even more excited about athletics. And so, you know, I just want to go over there and do my part to help make something big for the community happen.
You know, when you go into a program, and all these schools are established schools, they've all been around a long time. They've all had different levels of success. We know that. So it's not that you're necessarily rebuilding, but you are starting over. When you're looking at an established school, and you got to come in here and kind of, if you will, lay your plan down, where do you start, Kip?
The first thing you have to do is you have to start with your players. You know, that's one thing about me. I'm going to meet with every single young man that's on that roster that's going to play football. I want to be able to answer their questions, you know, questions that they won't ask when they're in front of a group.
Sure.
You know, when you're in there one-on-one, you have to make them comfortable, and then you have to reach out to their families. You have to make them comfortable. That's where your groundwork is laid, and then they're able to buy into your program as you start adding structure to the weight room, to the practice field, to everything. And hopefully you come out with a product that's going to be successful, and and it's going to make everybody happy.
So that's the beginning of culture, then, isn't
That's the beginning of culture. Yes, it is.
it? And it has to carry through when that belief and that trust gets built.
Yes, the biggest word that you said is trust. You know, once young men trust you, and that's why we became successful at Central. You know, they realized that, you know, they trusted me, they trusted my decisions, they trusted the process, they trusted our offensive and defensive schemes, and we were able to take over a program and make it better. And we're wanting that to translate as we move into Edison.
You know, it's interesting you use the word process. We've seen so much these days from Nick Saban, now that he's retired, talking about at Alabama. It was not about the result. It was about the process that got you the result. But the process is hard. How do you get them to buy in?
That is the tough part. You know, every athlete wants to look at the end product, but you have to get them to focus on what's going to get you to that end product. You know, that's where that trust comes in, and you stress that, you know, you have to come to practice every day. You have to dress a certain way. You have to carry yourself in school a certain way. You have to make certain kind of grades. All that is a process to become a better young man, a better athlete, and then eventually becoming a better program.
Well, you had a chance to actually do that, sit and visit with people. What are some surprises? You happier? Are you you're like, oh, I need to do this here, that kind of thing? Does it set your plan a little bit?
It kind of sets your plan. It helps me adjust. You know, you like to say your plan is set in stone, but it never really is. The more and more you discuss and learn, and you know, one thing about me is I'm always about learning, because the game changes so much year in and year out. And then the young people you work with change so much year in and year out. So you have to know how to work and get what you want out of people. You know, the way we used to come up, where it was just athletics. Now these young men, they have different things going on in their lives. So you have to know how to attack those, and then get the best that you can get out of the young man. You know, raise their expectations for themselves.
Yes, that's important. You know, and you mentioned plan. I got a dive master in my scuba business. It says a plan is something you make only so the instant you start, you can adjust it. And that is the way it works, isn't it?
It is. It's absolutely, you know, every year you start out that this is the way things should be and this is how we're going to go. But then once you kind of hit that rough patch, you kind of got to back up and say, okay, maybe we need to navigate a little different this way.
So what are you doing in football nowadays? I mean, we all know that it's brutally cold. Thank God we're going to be in March very soon, when not that far away from spring ball.
Well, right now at Edison, they're working out. It's kind of hard. I'm still at Central, so I'm transitioning a couple days a week over there for 7th hour, so that way I can be around the team as they work out. The assistant coaches that are over there are doing a really, really good job of maintaining and making sure everything's status quo. The biggest thing is, again, just me being around and everybody getting to know me. As soon as my assistants are done with their contract at their schools, then they'll come and be around a little bit more. That way we can build that trust and they can see what type of program we want to have going forward.
What would you like to do to accomplish this spring?
The biggest thing is for them to understand our offensive defensive philosophy, understand what we require as far as how hard we need you to play, how fast we need you to play. There's going to be somewhat of a learning curve, but I'm hoping that, they'll be able to grasp it and we'll be able to have some success, get into the summer and get better by the time we get to August.
Oh, I just like that word summer. Let's see if we can't get there. Kip, congratulations on the move, and I hope things go great.
Thank you very much.
Kip Shaw, brand new head football coach at Edison, back with more Inside Tulsa Athletics coming up.
Hey Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is facing off against a tough competitor, plastic.
Don't trust those numbers on the bottom. You have to stick to what you know. Only bottles and jugs found in the kitchen, bath, or laundry. They're quick to pick up. And empty those bottles before sinking that shot.
Always empty your bottles before recycling. Score big by recycling your plastic bottles and jugs. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hales means that you have to be consistent, outgoing, and be dedicated because students at Nathan Hale look up to the football team.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hale has taught me to be confident and disciplined and always to be open-minded and always ready to work with people no matter how difficult it is.
Welcome back in for another segment of Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm your host, Rick Couri. And with all this cold weather we've been having, would you rather think of spring, maybe some green grass, something like that? Let's talk baseball. And we get to do that with the brand new head coach at Memorial High School. It is Derek Dyson. Brand new at Memorial. Good looking hat, by the way.
Well, thank you.
So what do you think about the school now that you're in there?
It's great. It has storied history in baseball, but it's been neglected for quite a while. So we're kind of in a rebuilding phase, but I'm building the baseball culture back up. The boys are loving it. Putting in a lot of work. It's going pretty well, actually.
Tell me a little bit about that, because you're right. Memorial has that very storied history, and really about everything. I was played at Nathan Hale, so I played against them all the time. They were one of the better schools. You always knew that. When that happens, and they do have that, and it kind of falls away, where do you start to try to rebuild that? And you mentioned the word culture. How do you start?
I think the culture is the big thing. Baseball isn't a big deal in inner city schools these days. So if kids are good at ball, they're going to end up in the suburbs. They're going to end up in private schools. So most of my boys, I would say probably half of them had never even watched a baseball game. So I had to start from the beginning. Like in the preseason, we were watching games on the wall in the clubhouse and explaining to them like why things are happening the way they are. I see it a lot, like almost coaching t-ball to teenagers. This is the way it started, but now they're acting like ball players. I don't have to tell them that much. We're down to the minutia.
Okay.
And I've got great athletes, so that part of it's been easy.
How'd you recruit?
Walk through the halls. A lot of freshmen during orientation. I needed as many young kids as I could get, because if they're all starting from scratch, I want the young ones as early as I can get them. And then there was a bunch of boys who just had played ball but didn't want to play for the school because it had been so bad in the past, basically. So once word kind of caught on that somebody was taking baseball seriously, and once some other boys started taking it seriously, like we should have enough for a JV team this year. I don't think they've had a JV team in years, just from all the freshmen that we got to come out. And kids are keeping their grades up. I think most of the kids that are on the team are coming to school because they play baseball now. They wear their hats in the building. They clip their gloves to their backpacks. They're walking around the school proud to be baseball players. So I think that's part of the culture that I'm trying to build.
Sounds like you did it in a hurry too. I mean, that's got to come for a lot from you. There has to be a little charisma, has to be a reason. You've got to be a convincing guy to get people to come out.
Well, I love baseball, and I think it's the best game in America. And it wasn't real hard to convince them of it. Once they start playing it, it is fun. It's a fun game to play, and we've been playing every day like since August, basically. In the first few months, we could only stay for 7th hour, but we got what work in we could. Just while we're there for the hour, that's what we're going to get done. And they pick it up quick. They're learning the game. I've got them playing video games at home to learn the rules, and that works. They're watching videos all the time, coming in, hey coach, I saw this on this TikTok video. What do you think of this? They're kind of coaching themselves in that way when they're at home, and giving them gear to take home to play catch with their parents and little brothers, whatever, trying to get whatever reps in we can get, But I think that's built the culture.
Yeah, and plus you might get the little brother or someone else. They come right back out, right?
Exactly.
So the old God bless Mrs. Selman thing. Let's have some kids who can play baseball. When you're starting at scratch in baseball, it's like any other sport, I'm told, because a lot of kids are coming out, haven't done an awful lot of these things. Football, basketball, maybe so, but wrestling programs have grown. There are new kids out doing that. Where do you start skill-wise?
It's funny because they've all thrown things. Most of them have thrown footballs, but you don't throw a baseball the same way you throw a football. Yep. So that was one of the first things I had to show them. One of the things I overlooked for the first month probably is that I didn't show them how to hold the ball. It's just something I'd overlooked, but they were all palming it with their whole hand and throwing it into the dirt. And once I realized that, I was like, oh man, I got to really start from scratch here and show them every little piece of this thing. And now I've got a freshman that's throwing in the mid 60s, and he's only been with us for 2 months. And that, for a kid who's never played ball, he's got great potential. It's just because I got athletes who, he's throwing the ball like he's thrown rocks his whole life. So we haven't really honed in on anything, but he's throwing strikes. And I think that just comes from natural ability, and then getting them in love with the game so that they're trying to learn new things and trying to get better, trying to step up to what the competition we're going to have.
Building a program tells you that first few years you're going to have those growing pains, and you've got to be the psychiatrist that gets them past it. What's your plan?
I scheduled some easier games before the district games start. We've done a lot of scrimmaging. I still play old man baseball, so we've done some scrimmages against old men to show them that we've been playing all our whole lives, so don't expect to just walk out and beat us because the kids you're going to be playing with have been playing since they were 5. You guys have been playing for 6 months.
Right.
It's going to take time on that. But the last one we did last weekend, they only had 1 bad inning. The Old Men only beat them by 1 run. So Old Men got some bragging rights from it, but the boys were pretty happy with it because they didn't play that bad, really. I think the more and more that happens, they're just going to keep getting better.
You know, the minute they beat you, you're not going to ever hear the end of it.
I struck out twice that game, and I'm not ever going to hear the end of that.
You know, the great thing is it sounds like you're loving it and having fun. Derek, thank you for coming. Congratulations on a good start. Hopefully, keep that thing rolling. Derek Dyson with Memorial Baseball. Back with more Inside Tulsa Athletics coming up.
Hey, Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is facing off against one tough competitor, glass.
That's right. Only glass bottles and jars are recyclable. Don't even think about sinking a drink in glass or mirror. Always good to empty your glass bottles and jars before recycling.
These two get it, emptying both bottles from far out, and they remove the lids. Score big by recycling your glass bottles and jars. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Booker T. Washington has taught me to carry myself with class as an athlete, student, and friend, and to have responsibility on and off the field, and that it's the littlest things that will make all the difference in the long run.
Being an athlete at Memorial High School has taught me to be a better person because when you play sports, attitude is the main thing you have to deal with, not just your own, but other people's. It also teaches you to be the bigger person.
We're back on Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm your host, Rick Couri, and just like we have done a couple of times this year, we're going to talk something warm, and that is baseball. Dean Green is here. He is the Edison baseball coach, and you've, of course, seen some Edison on the show today, and it does sound good just thinking about some spring, doesn't it?
I'm ready to get the spring sports out there. You know, basketball's been fun, and football was great, but it's time for baseball.
All right, when we say time for baseball, right now, what are you doing athletically for baseball?
Right now, we're doing inter-squad scrimmages with all our guys, trying to get them built up essentially for season. Our pitchers are going through their monotonous bullpens over and over, and facing each other day in, day out, and it kind of gets to be taxing a little bit on their bodies. But we're going through that kind of stuff, and then working on some rundowns, bunt defenses, things that we'll need for season, and just really trying to make sure that things are cinched up and ready to go for season.
We've had coaches on here talking about kind of trying to bring programs back, that kind of thing, where you ended up in a situation where you get some young people out who really don't know an awful lot about the game. And of course, you're going to have veterans as well. Where do you start when you get someone who's new?
With new guys that come into our program, and we have those every year, I try to break it down and go back to the basics and just see what they're good at, what we can kind of build upon. Fortunately at Edison, we've been blessed with a lot of athletes that do know what they're doing as far as once they get there. And some of them are kind of new to it, but we really try to break it down and just teach them the fundamentals of the game. That's a lot of what our fall is breaking down base running, how to get leads, how to play catch, we go to as far as to do things like how to stand for the national anthem. Little things like that are really what helps build the culture and build the program up. And that's something that me and my assistants are sticklers about, is that making sure that the little details are done right. It's a true testament to my 2 assistants that help me out with it, Braden Beasley and Clayton Green. They both go in and above and beyond to make sure those things are taken care of.
I had an old football coach that used to tell me, what he would tell the kids is, don't sweat the little things, but be good at them.
Be good at them. That's right.
and then he was just trying to lay that foundation once again. And you talk about working out this time of year, it's awfully cold. So how do you get around that?
It's tough. With the exception of the snow day we had, we were outside up until that point. And our kids kind of know that. I'm sure they mumble under their breath a few times at me, but they know that if it's decent weather out, as far as it's not raining or the ground's not wet, we're going to be outside. So they learn to kind of combat the cold here and there. And if it's too cold to where I'm even feeling it, then I tell them, hey, we're going into the indoor there. We have a couple cages that are inside that we can go in and take batting practice or work on bunting or do tee work, or we can even throw bullpens inside. So it really kind of helps us out just having some facilities there at Edison that make it a little nicer.
We hear so much these days, especially in Major League Baseball and the likes in professional baseball. We hear a lot about pitch counts and trying to save arms and things like that, which is so different than what most of us who are my age grew up with. What's your philosophy on that with kids?
I mean, we don't want to overuse our kids. I do believe that there's a point in time where some coaches were using and abusing their pitchers' arms, and it'd be the same pitcher for 4 games that week instead of it being, a couple of guys here and there mixing back and forth. I do think that's something that we need to watch out for as far as a baseball society goes, because you see more and more that guys' arms are starting to get injured and they're throwing at a higher velocity now than they ever have. And that's a testament to the quality of baseball that is around still, that they're still going nonstop. And that's fall ball to winter ball to summer ball. I mean, kids now, they focus on one sport instead of playing all of them. Yes. And I myself was a 3-sport guy when I was at Berry Hill, and that was something that I always enjoyed doing because it got me out of that element as far as just baseball. I wanted to go to basketball. I wanted to go to football. We had kids that would do it for wrestling and different things like that, or go run track. I just feel like it made a more well-rounded athlete. And so that's something that I push upon my guys at Edison, is that, hey, I want you to go play multiple sports. I want you to get out there and be a blessing to the other coaches as well, because sometimes they just wear on me, and I want to get them out of my hair. But truthfully, we've been fortunate. We have a lot of really good athletes at Edison that kind of focus on multiple sports. So it's been kind of nice for that. But I wish more kids would kind of do that.
I mean, you certainly then probably have stories yourself about how one of those sports helped you in something else. And you played at such a high level in baseball. How did football, how did basketball, how did they improve you?
I mean, football, as far as just a toughness, the mentality that you had to have to go in and play for it. And I was fortunate to play under Hall of Famer Gary Harper when I was at Berry Hill. And some of the life lessons that I was taught from him are, second to none, just because, I learned how to approach things differently. I learned how to, make sure I have a little grit to myself and be able to get through the tough times on things when it's not always going to be easy. And basketball for me, I played under Keith Chronister at Berry Hill when I was there. And he was the same way. He was hard-nosed. He was a very patient person, but he knew when he had to be tough on us. And I learned a lot of my coaching stuff from those guys. But truthfully, basketball was there for my conditioning. And that's something that I always was thankful for, is that I always tried to be in better shape than most. And that was something that always helped me. But yeah, both those sports, I attest my baseball success to those sports.
And now, hopefully, leading to more success at Edison.
Let's hope so. That's the plan.
Yeah, Dean, thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it, Rick.
Dean Green with the Edison Baseball Program, talking a little warm sports. Back in a moment on Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Hey, Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is looking to defend their title against aluminum and steel cans.
Bob, most people think of the kitchen for this opponent, but aluminum and steel cans, like empty shaving cream cans, also play extremely well in bathrooms all over Tulsa. That was nothing but bin, Bob.
Wow, right into the bin. Team Johnson has buttoned up another win. Score big by recycling your aluminum and steel cans. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Edison High School has taught me to work as a team rather than as an individual. Whenever you're on a team, you have a special bond with each other. You know you can rely on them in a time of need, whether on or off the court. Whether it be a shoulder to cry on or advice on how you can improve, you know your team will always be there for you.
We're back here on Inside Tulsa Athletics, having ourselves a really fun show. Now we're going to talk something else that feels a little warmer. We're going to talk some track. Greg Nash, Hall of Famer Greg Nash from Booker T is with us, wearing the nice Booker T sweater. And congratulations on the Hall of Fame. That's really neat.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very grateful and had that opportunity to go into the track and field Hall of Fame. It's awesome.
Hey, we talked about it before last time you were here, but remind people your history and your background in the sport.
Well, I've been at Booker T. This is my 34th year, going to complete it in May, and we've won several state championships at Booker T. And the tradition's been there. When I came there, it was already a great tradition built, and I just carried it on. The legacy of Booker T was expected every year.
And that's something that really does help, doesn't it? When you're successful at something, other people see that success and they want to be a part of it, don't they?
Yes, it's always a legacy. Like I said, we got the big Ring of Honor tomorrow night at Booker T. Washington Fieldhouse, and boy, so many people will be there that's been a part of the tradition that's carried on in Booker T for years and years and years.
You talk about that tradition. It's also there in football and in basketball and in many other things. Coach Brown in basketball, Coach Byson now in football. Are you seeing a bit of resurgence in some of those things where Booker T's always been good, but you're starting to see kind of a rise in a lot of things?
Yeah, it's back up, coming up. Like you said, it's surging back. I had some down years, had some lean years there, especially being in 6A. It's been very difficult making that transition. But I think now things are turning and going upward. Coach Byson does an excellent job with football. Coach Brown does a great job with the basketball team. Even the girls' basketball team is ranked #1. And probably a lot of my girls that run track come out of basketball
programs. How does that help them athletically? What does basketball help them with in track?
Well, I think they have a lot of endurance and a lot of strength, and they're fast and quick, and some of them can throw the shot with discus. They can jump, throws. So they're very versatile. So that's what most of our athletes, we try to get them to do 2 sports.
It's one thing to be fast. It's another thing to be fast when it matters.
Yes.
How do you take a young, really raw talent from somebody who can just run and turn them into a true sprinter?
Well, what you do is just get them in there, and you got to train them properly. Like I said, you got to go through all the different drills and train them properly and the techniques and study the game. A lot of times I have them study the game and prepare themselves and learn. Just we go through videos and break down things and teach them form and technique. And some of them that's, like I said, are raw. I got 2 or 3 of them like that right now that's 14 years old, freshmen. Mm-hmm. And they're just real raw right now. So we're training them to run properly and good techniques and know the fundamentals of what track means. You got to go through fundamentals with these kids.
There are some things, if you watch really good sprinters or runners of any kind, whether it's an Olympics or a competition, you see the head still and you see the movement of the arms, you see the certain kinds of start. When you're doing that, you got somebody raw. Where do you begin? What's some of the first actual things you work on?
Well, the first thing we do a lot of hurdle drills and a lot of bounding drills and work on techniques. And then you can see, like you said, the head movement, the arm movement, how they move their arms and the structure of the body, and how to stand up instead of leaning forward and running, how to stand up, look down the track, and stay in your lane.
One of the things I think is really interesting, my wife is a big fan of track as well when we were watching, again, on the Olympics, sprinters especially, but almost all runners have changed body styles.
Yes.
There was a time when everybody looked like Bob Hayes.
Right.
Nice and thin. And
right.
Now they look like weightlifters with legs like tree trunks. When did you see the transition to more muscle in sprinting or running overall?
Well, what was happening between years ago, like you said, those guys were just raw and built. We got to get in the weight rooms. That made a big difference on our kids now is taking time, getting in the weight room, and develop their bodies more and strength. Mm-hmm. Because during track season, you got 8 to 10 meets and your body breaks down. If you don't have any strength in training, it's going to be hard to sustain that throughout the regionals and for the state track meet.
Yeah. When you're trying to build for a track meet, just like any other sport, you want to build a certain amount, you want to back off a certain amount, you want them to peak at a certain time. What's your plan for that?
Well, our plan is we don't start out real strong early in the season because I have most of my kids doing 2 sports, like I said, doing basketball or swimming.
Sure.
And we just try to take it slow and the weather's going to be a factor right now, so we don't want to get anybody hurt. And then, like I said, usually when we come back after spring break, we're ready to go.
You still running with them?
Well, not as much as I used to, but sometimes I do, but not all the time. But they've gotten faster and stronger.
Yet they stay the same age and we don't, right?
We don't, that's right. That's right.
What do you do when the weather's really cold like this? I mean, certainly you can do some inside weights and things, but what do you do?
Well, what we do in the gym, I'll check and see if the basketball team is playing away or whatever, and we'll go in the gym and we'll do some plyos and do weightlifting in the weight room and do a lot of training. Like the other day, we did some fundamentals of going through the videos and training techniques. I have them to watch videos and break things down so they can see how they're running and make adjustments.
You were telling me you have a young man who's awfully good. He's got a lot of offers. Tell me about him.
Kyler Brown, he's a senior. He's been in the program for 4 years. He's one of the ones you talk about raw talent, coming in as a freshman. I didn't think he's going to be a very good cross-country runner. So he stayed in all the meets since he was a freshman and ran with us every day, ran with those cross-country kids each day, and he gotten better. So I said, one of my assistant coaches, I said, man, I got to put him on the varsity cross-country team. He can run some people down. He started doing that. And then he got better and better. And he said he wanted to try running 100 and the 200. I said, no problem. As a freshman, he didn't run very well. But his sophomore year, he got better. In the junior year, he won state in the 100 and 200, hands down. So he's ranked number 2 in the country. He ran in New York last week, got 3rd in the 60. Okay? And he's been to Kansas, up to Kansas and everywhere. So he's got about 25 offers, went to Ohio State to visit. He's been to Ole Miss, so he's going to write his own ticket anywhere he wants to go, probably.
He's got a good coach,
He's
too.
probably the best one I've had in 25 years.
Greg, thanks for coming by.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me.
You betcha. Greg Nash, Hall of Famer at Booker T. Back with more coming up here on Inside Tulsa Athletics.
Hey, Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is facing off against one tough competitor, glass.
That's right. Only glass bottles and jars are recyclable. Don't even think about sinking a drink in glass or mirror. Always good to empty your glass bottles and jars before recycling.
These two get it, emptying both bottles from far out, and they remove the lids. Score big by recycling your glass bottles and jars. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
I feel like athletics is so important at Tulsa Central because it's an outlet for some of our kids there. They get a better opportunity to basically give back to our community.
At McLean, the sports is what mainly drives a bunch of the students to come to school every single day and work hard because they want to be able to come from the classroom to the field or the court and show at what they're good at.
We are loaded today on Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm Rick Couri, your host, and take a look. Once again, we have two folks with us. We're going to talk some wrestling from over in Rogers High School. Colton Roberts, the boys coach, and Stephen Phillips, the girls coach. Colton, the jacket, man, you're making me look bad.
Yeah, this is the way. Here, at Rogers Wrestling, and really anything that I'm a part of, when we go somewhere to represent our team and our colors, we do it like it's a business trip because we are about business.
Well, now I feel a little bit bad about that, but we're going to let that pass and we'll just go right along. And Stephen, I appreciate you being here as well, the girls wrestling coach. I have to get into that. Girls wrestling has exploded. Really started 3-4 years ago, and the number of wrestlers and coaches I've talked to talk about the enthusiasm of these young girls. Tell me about building your program.
So the girls wrestling, like I said, there's a lot of enthusiasm with it. Girls are much different than boys. They're more excitable. They're more pragmatic than boys. So they're more to the point. Let's get it done. Let's get out there and make it happen. And they're so much fun to coach.
And they're usually coming at this from, if they played basketball, they played basketball, or maybe they played softball. But most of them, they may have whipped their brothers in the house, but they didn't wrestle competitively. Do you find that you have to build a base a little bit longer?
You do, because they're more timid in starting. So once they get started and they get out there and they understand the physicality of it, they fall in love with the sport. And they're so much fun to watch, and they turn violent. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. How many do you have in your program?
Right now we have about 8 in the high school and about 14 in the middle school. So middle school's really coming on.
What do your boys think of girls wrestling?
Oh, they love it. They're all in the same room together, so they're experiencing everything together. And we have a big moniker with our program is we are one. We move together. So they look at the girls as, just a new brother that they get to wrestle with, and the girls look at the boys the same way.
Is there some competition in there during practice?
100%. We get two of our better wrestlers, a boy, Yahir, and our girl, Janae, they are locked in partnership. They drill together, they go live together, they push each other, and that's the way that she likes it. She wants to have that boy competition, so when she gets to the girls, it's like she's been sprinting with a 45-pound plate her whole life.
That's fantastic. Well, and I got to imagine, because they say girls are actually a little more competitive, and you'd mentioned the same thing. So they probably want to cross over some, don't they?
They do. They want to get better. They want to find the toughest competitor in the room and go after them.
And they have done that. All right, so tell me about, as you're starting your seasons, tell me how things are going. Tell me how you're feeling.
Well, I feel great. Our kids have really bought into this new culture that we've implemented. They've taken to this family bond that we've created for them that they haven't really ever had. And in turn, it makes our jobs easier. When we say jump, they say how many times and how far. And it's become a really good family atmosphere for them.
Before I move to you, you said culture, which is a throwaway word almost because everybody uses it, but it does mean something to each individual group.
Yes.
What does it mean to your group?
For our group, we're from the old school. Both of our dads wrestled at Oklahoma State. My dad's still coaching high school wrestling. So building that wrestling culture where we are the family that likes to fight. Wrestlers are weird about that. We enjoy that pain and suffer. And the culture that we've been able to create for them is one of, it's okay to mess up, but understand when you mess up, we're here to help. And they, after every practice, we have a little time for them to talk about, things that might be going on at home or in school, just a way to bond them together. It's not just athletes, but as actual brothers and sisters.
I think
it's been really awesome to watch happen.
Yeah, that is really cool. And that's got to be even better when you've got both boys and girls in there.
Yeah.
What about yours? What the personality of your group look like?
Our girls are fighting. They're all want to go to state. They all want to have that steak dinner with us. And they want to prove that they can keep with the boys. And like Coach said, we're a weird family. That's just the way we are. Wrestlers worldwide, we're weird and we're all family.
and he's saying that now, right? I mean, right here in front of everybody. But there is something, I will say this, in all the years of broadcasting football, anytime in high school specifically, when a coach says to me about a player, he's a wrestler too, I'm going to watch that kid.
Yeah.
Right? There is something about that mentality, that grinding mentality of a wrestler that carries through life, doesn't it?
Yeah,
mental toughness.
Yeah, and they don't mind, as you mentioned, they don't mind pushing past it. They are grinders.
Yeah. And what's strange about that is the older you get, right? You may play baseball or run track or play football, but they are wrestlers. And they will categorize themselves as a wrestler who plays football or as so that whenever they go to these different sports, they're in shape. It's not hard because they've been through the grinder with us.
Yep, and obviously coming out the other side of it successful.
Yeah.
All right, so next time, you guys tell me next time he's going to be on so I can wear a jacket? Thank you very much.
You're good, man.
We're talking a little wrestling right here with Stephen Phillips, the girls' coach, and Colton Roberts, the boys' coach over at Rogers. Back with more Inside Tulsa Athletics next.
Hey, Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is looking to defend their title against aluminum and steel cans.
Bob, most people think of the kitchen for this opponent, but aluminum and steel cans, like empty shaving cream cans, also play extremely well in bathrooms all over Tulsa. That was nothing but bin, Bob.
Wow, right into the bin. Team Johnson has buttoned up another win. Score big by recycling your aluminum and steel cans. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hales means that you have to be consistent, outgoing, and be dedicated because students at Nathan Hale look up to the football team.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hale has taught me to be confident and disciplined and always to be open-minded and always ready to work with people no matter how difficult it is.
Welcome back for more Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm your host, Rick Couri, and we have a couple of young ladies with us who are going to educate us on something that I bet most people don't really know a lot about. We have Ambree Osburn and Chelsea Curran from Edison Palm. All right, ladies, I want you first of all to explain what's Palm.
Well, Palm is kind of a mixture of like ballet, jazz, some cheers mixed into it, kind of like mixed into one. There's a lot of things you like can do with Palm. You can do like a lot of different categories. You can do a hip hop dance, you can do a jazz dance, or you can do all of that together as a mix routine. And yeah, we have 2 routines this year. She can tell you about them.
We have Palm and mix. So in our Palm category, we just have like an overall dance. And then our mix category, we do jazz, hip hop, Palm in the mixed category, and then Kick. Yeah.
You know, and people, I think when people think of palm, they just think of like those, you know, things
The
you shake,
palms.
right?
Yeah.
They think of things
Yeah.
you shake. Literally, you don't just stand out there and do
Mhm.
that though. And then there's, you know, there are dance teams and there are cheer squads
Yeah.
and there are all kinds of things.
Mhm.
Why did you pick palm?
I personally picked palm because I feel like I was just drawn to it because my sister was in palm before me. So it helped to have that. And then the coach was also like a really big reason why I stayed and joined as well, because she is a teacher at Elliott. I went to Elliott. So I've known her for a long time. And then as well as just the sport itself is just really interesting. And our job is to make it look easy. And I think that's like a really unique thing about our sport is that it's extremely difficult, but like we try to make it look easy.
And you'll notice something really important. You said sport, because this takes work, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just think that we stand on the sidelines and just cheer on other people, but like we go to our own competitions and we work really, really hard. So I would definitely count it as a sport.
Tell me what a normal day is like when you're working and you're practicing.
So typically we work out and then we work through our routines and make sure that they're really clean and really strong for competition. And then we also
usually do skills too.
Yeah, we really work hard on our skills to make sure that they are good for competition.
What kind of skills do you guys work on?
We do mostly kicks, leaps, jumps, and turns. So whether the turns are pirouettes or fouettes, that counts as well as all turns. And then we usually pick like one or two to focus on that day. And we just go through like our sequence and we kind of have like a routine how we go through those skills.
How long does an average practice take?
About 3.5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time you're spending out
this-
there. Do you guys ever work with the other groups? Because you're kind of performing together. So you guys have to get together with them too and do that?
In the past, we have joined with cheer and done like a joint halftime routine, but usually no, we're just by ourselves.
You said before we started, we were having a little conversation amongst ourselves. I said, what are you interested in? You said palm and palm and palm and palm and palm.
Yes.
So what is it you love so much?
I just love that it gives me structure. Like, I mean, it's 3.5 hours, 3 times a week. Like, that's the base of it, but usually it's more than that.
Sure.
It's extra things. We go, like, we went to the opening of Shields. That is like just something extra that we do. We do fundraisers and car washes, and like when you're around those girls for that long, obviously you get close with them, and then it just kind of becomes like a sisterhood. It's almost like a sorority kind of in the way that we're all very, very close, and we all hold each other to like a really high standard. So I just like that aspect of palm.
What keeps you going?
I love the friendships that come out of it, because like if I ever am having like a rough day, I always know that there's somebody there that I can talk to, or like if I need help, they'll always be there for me. And they just like, they bring so much joy to my life because they're just like lovely people to be around, and they're all so happy all the time, and it's a good like community.
You know, we understand that, you know, whether it's boys, girls, it doesn't matter, whatever the sport is, a team practices for game night. You know, that's what they do, or game day. Do you do the same thing?
Yeah, so we practice the weeks of our competitions, we practice every single day of the week, usually, for like, especially for nationals, it's like every day for the 2 weeks before we go to nationals. So yeah, we do that, and then as well as state, we do the same thing for football games, same thing for our game day competitions as well. We do the same thing. So yeah.
Does it have that feel? I mean, when you're going into doing this, you feel like you're in a contest too?
Like among the girls?
No, I
Or
mean
just
just
like-
going. If you're going to cheer or palm at a game,
Oh,
do
yeah.
you still feel like game excitement?
Yeah, it's always a lot of fun being at football games, just like watching the football team and getting to cheer them on. And I love feeling like we're going into a game like we really want to win.
Right.
And so we're always really excited on the sidelines.
So you're part of it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're as invested as the players, aren't you?
Yeah.
What is your goal? You want to do this later in college?
Yeah, I have thought about possibly doing Oklahoma State University palm.
I'm a senior, so I'm kind of like starting to think about that stuff, but I'm not quite sure yet.
What about you? Would you think it'd be something you'd do in the future?
I mean, I'm only a sophomore, but I think that doing it in college would be a lot of fun and would be a good way to like meet people in college. So.
Well,
yeah.
now we know the difference between pom and cheer and dance and all those things. Ambree Osburn and Chelsea Curran, Edison Pom. Thank you, ladies, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back with more of Inside Tulsa Athletics coming up after this.
Hey, Tulsa, we have a crushing recycle play of the day for you. Team Johnson versus paper and cardboard.
They're starting off slow today, probably trying to figure out what to do with those styrofoam plates, since they're not recyclable.
There's the big play we were waiting for. Boom! Completely empty cardboard boxes dunked in the cart. Score big by recycling your cardboard and paper. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
I love Will Rogers Athletics because it helped me physically, spiritually, and emotionally through all the journeys I've been through at that school. All of the support staff helped me a lot, and it's just an amazing school.
Athletics at Will Rogers changed my life because it became a second family. With the support of my coaches and teammates, it's helped me gain confidence, work as a team, and will help me in college and in life.
Welcome back to more Inside Tulsa Athletics. I'm Rick Couri, your host, and we have two swimmers with us, something I was never able to do. I'm a floater, as you can see, but I'm not much of a swimmer. From Booker T, we have Claire Lloyd and Lily Jennings. Ladies, thank you very much for being here. I know you were going to be with your coach, and she was not able to make it, so you're kind of here just stuck with me. You look a little scared. Don't worry, we're not gonna do anything exciting. First of all, I want both of you to tell us, why did you become a swimmer? What is it that really, I mean, were you just good at it? Did you intrigued by it? Tell me why.
I did swim lessons like my whole childhood, and I had a pool in my backyard, and so I was always in the water, always swimming. And I did a swim team in middle school, and then COVID happened, and I just wanted to get back in the water, and so I joined Booker T in high school and then stuck with it.
When did you realize you thought you were going to be good at it? Because it's one thing to get in and swim, we can all do that a little bit, but then suddenly you get one into the other pretty quick.
Maybe middle school, because once you start swimming like the length of a competitive pool, you start to realize if you want to do it competitively or not.
Sure. Oh yeah, because swimming is hard.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. What about you?
Same with Claire. I had a pool in my backyard, and I also had a lake house. And I would always, the only way my parents could get me to stop crying was to have me floating in the water. So I've kind of always been drawn to it. But I started swimming in middle school in 7th grade at Thoreau, and then I went to Booker T, same with Claire. And I think I kind of realized that I was good in my sophomore year when we had a different coach. But I think that's when all of our team kind of started feeling like we were good and feeling like we could win things.
And you guys have had some really good success too, right?
Yes. This year too.
Tell us about it.
Well, yesterday, one of our swimmers, Cameron Rourke, just beat our 400 free record by about a second. And we won overall against Carl Albert and Broken Arrow, both in girls, boys, and combined.
But you guys have had a lot more success than that too, right?
Yeah. And last Thursday, we swam at Fort Gibson, and our girls won overall, and then our team won overall, and our boys got second, I believe.
Yeah, that's a pretty good meet.
Tell me, for those of us who haven't done it competitively, I mean, we had a pool when I was in school at Nathan Hale 1,000 years ago, and I would go down there, and all I heard was a lot of splashing and what sounded like pain. Because I know it's difficult. As a dive instructor, I understand what swimming is like. Tell me what a practice is like.
Awful. It's a little awful.
We start with like a 30-minute warm-up because we're in the water for like hour 45, 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So we warm up for 30 minutes, and then we do usually like a 15-minute kick set where we're kicking.
A little more. It depends on how much she wants to annoy us. Sometimes we'll do a bunch of IM. Sometimes it'll be a lot of free, a lot of stroke work. It'll be a lot of all of the strokes, so a lot of fly, a lot of free, a lot of back, a lot of breast. No one likes fly. No one likes breast. But yeah, it's usually pretty bad. We'll see what she has in store for us today.
Well, after this, maybe a little more than
hopefully not that bad.
All right, so when you say warm up for 30 minutes, we talking in the pool or out of the pool? What do you do to warm up?
We start out of the pool. It's called dry land in the world of swim, so it's just like stuff on land. It depends. We do different stroke groups, so depending on what you swim normally, that's the area of focus out of the water also. So we do that for like 15 minutes, and then we get in the pool and do a 30-minute warm-up.
What is the water and temperature normally? They keep it warmer. You guys are a little cooler.
Yeah, I want to say it's usually about 76, 78. It's been really hot lately, though. It's a little hot and slimy. But usually, a lot of people like it at 74 or 76.
Which, you know, and again, I understand what that means. Cold. That's fairly cold. But when you start to work, it sure feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah. Sometimes it gets a little hot, but for the most part, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and anytime it's warmer than that, I know it can be really, really warm.
Yeah, awful. I mean, sometimes we've had to cancel practice because our pool's been too hot or too cold.
What is your favorite stroke?
Can't get in it.
Mine is freestyle.
I swim backstroke.
Why that? Is it?
I don't know. I was just really good at it, and I was really bad at holding my breath. So it's easier when my face is out of the water all the time.
Right. I get that some. I have to ask, you know, when we do any other thing, so if you're jogging, you can just stop and sit down, that kind of thing. If you're swimming, yeah, you still have to stay afloat.
Right. Pretty much.
Take me to what it's really like in a practice or especially in a meet when you're really tired and you got to push through that. What do you call on?
Probably the people at the side of the pool, especially in meets. We have a very supportive team, I want to say. Like, we're all very cheerful and very helpful. I mean, yesterday when Cameron was swimming for his 400, we had pretty much the pool lined, and I'm sure he could hear us. He probably couldn't, but we were super loud, and it really just, you draw on your fellow swimmers and their experiences and their like love for you and love for the sport. So it just kind of helps you stay afloat.
What about you, Claire?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I swim the 400, and just you have to have a counter at the end of your lane to make sure that you're swimming the right distance. And it's helpful to know that like there's someone there, there's someone like cheering for you, and like you can, when you breathe, you can see the side of the pool, see your teammates, see your coach telling you to kick faster, to go faster. And it's nice to know that they're there supporting you, because they want you to do your best and they want the team to do their best. And I think that's nice. And
obviously you guys are doing very, very well.
Very well right now.
Now see, this wasn't scary at all, was it?
Not at all.
No big deal. I want to thank you guys for coming, both of you. Claire Lloyd and Lily Jennings, continued success, and keep those chairs on the side of the pool.
Thank you.
We'll do our best.
Back with more Inside Tulsa Athletics coming up next right here.
Hey Tulsa, welcome back to the top recycling play of the day. Team Johnson is facing off against a tough competitor, plastic.
Don't trust those numbers on the bottom. You have to stick to what you know. Only bottles and jugs found in the kitchen, bath, or laundry. They're quick to pick up. And empty those bottles before sinking that shot.
Always empty your bottles before recycling. Score big by recycling your plastic bottles and jugs. Learn more at TulsaRecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Edison High School has taught me to work as a team rather than as an individual. Whenever you're on a team, you have a special bond with each other. You know you can rely on them in a time of need, whether on or off the court. Whether it be a shoulder to cry on or advice on how you can improve, you know your team will always be there for you.
Thank you for joining us on another version of Inside Tulsa Athletics. We'll certainly have more coming up, but we learned some things today. Dean Green over at Edison talked about baseball, and that's a guy who's played at a very high level. Greg Nash, the Hall of Famer from Booker T, told us not only about his program, but about an athlete ranked number 2 in the country in the 100 meters. That's tremendous. We had Mr. Dyson, Derek Dyson, the brand new head baseball coach at Memorial, tell us about rebuilding a traditional program there. And even Josh Noel from the city of Tulsa talking about recycling. That's right, we had it all here today, and we'll have more coming your way soon. So stick with us and come back next time for Inside Tulsa Athletics.